Well, staying with university news, in the Western Cape, a group of students led by members of the Rhodes-Must-Fall Campaign have started gathering outside Parliament. The students have vowed to continue with their protests until their demands are met. They're waiting to be addressed by officials from the Higher Education Department on issues of outsourcing and free education. Last week, the group handed over a memorandum of grievances to the Deputy Higher Education Minister, Mduduzi Manana, who undertook to give the students feedback by today. Well, our reporter Vanessa Puna is there. Vanessa, good afternoon to you. So government saying they will give students feedback by today. Has there yet been any word on their demands?
Good afternoon to you too. No, there hasn't been any word as yet from government officials after the students had started gathering here since 11 o'clock this morning. As I said earlier on, they have forwarded a list of demands, a memorandum of demands, including also an end to outsourcing nationally, as well as for tertiary education fees to fall. Now, joining me is UCT student leader Kialebonga Ramaru. Could you just explain to us, it's 2 hours, there's still been no response from government officials. Just in a nutshell, what exactly are you wanting feedback on?
So last week Thursday, students and workers came here to assemble outside of Parliament and handed over a memorandum to the Deputy Minister of Higher Education demanding free education for the end outsourcing to be put as a national mandate, and also for a decolonized university, and also for the government to speak out against the police brutality that students have been experiencing. It has been 2 hours and there hasn't been anyone coming out. The Deputy Minister is still not out, and he set this date with us, and this non-commitment and not sticking to the date is exemplary of what exactly we're fighting. I think it's quite unacceptable that we've been waiting 2 hours outside and there's been a no-show from the Deputy Minister.
There's been concerns from students around universities around the country in terms of the delay in the final examination, as well as I'm sure students from UCT also concerned that exams have not yet gotten underway by now.
Well, UCT has a set schedule. Exams are due to start on the 10th of November at UCT, and students have been given an option to write exams now or in January. But of course we also have to be protecting the students who are present here, who are taking out the time to fight for free education. They need to be accommodated, and universities have to have a conversation about how to protect these students, because we've seen, it's not just now, we've seen students the whole year, from the beginning of the year until now, who've been doing some active work in their own universities, and students shouldn't be criminalized or penalized for doing that important work that's needed. So they should be accommodated as such.
There have also been reports and incidents of violence and intimidation of fellow students and fellow protesters at various universities. Just very briefly, your take on that as a student leader.
So I think there's a lot of miscommunication and misinformation coming out from different universities. I think we need to be clear that at no point have any students been intimidated in any of our spaces. In fact, the intimidation has been coming from the police themselves. Some universities have hired private security, and this private security has been terrorizing students at different spaces and in different universities, and we need to speak out against this. A case in point is UWC. The rector of UWC has private security on campus. Why do you need private securities when you're dealing with students and not criminals? Why do you need people with live ammunition and force when you're dealing with students and not criminals? So these are questions we need to ask, and the government has to step in with these type of issues, because it's important that students are not criminalized for fighting for free education, something that's been promised to them, and we need to see it externalized, because too many of our students are competent and capable of being in institutions of higher learning, but they can't afford it, or they've been kicked out because they can't afford it. Education should be something, it's a right for all people, not a privilege for those who have money.
All right, Kialebonga Ramaru speaking to us here from outside the gates of Parliament, where students from UCT as well as outsourced workers have gathered since 11 o'clock this morning, waiting for a response from government after memorandum of demands handed over last week. Back to you in studio.
Vanessa, thank you very much. Vanessa Puna, live from Parliament.